Ethan. You were right. I did lie to you. I shouldn't have. All I can say is that if you get this, stay away.
When you think of Resident Evil, you think of Leon Kennedy, Jill Valentine, Ada Wong, Chris and Claire Redfield, and most importantly, Steve Burnside. No, not Steve. Anyway, but as much as we love these iconic characters, none of them are as relatable and realistic as Ethan Winters. Someone with no combat training, no personal connection, or even knowledge of corrupt government and bioterrorism. Just a regular 9-to-5 guy like me and you who's trying to find his missing wife in the deep recesses of Louisiana. But I can't say I would travel all the way there without first getting the FBI. But then again, I probably would if it came down to the wire, cause love makes people do crazy things. Never know what you'll do or what you'll become until your back is against the wall. And like it or not, Ethan reminds us that everything is a means to an end, as long as it means that we save our loved ones in the end. So it's no coincidence that the first mainline game in first person puts us in control of Ethan. When Resident Evil 7 came out, it brought the franchise back to its roots through the suffocating horrors of the unknown, giving players the same experience as in the Spencer Mansion back in RE1. But unlike veterans Jill and Chris, who spent most of their lives on the battlefield, Ethan was just a systems engineer trying to save his missing wife Mia, completely unaware of the hellish nightmare that awaited him in that deep Louisiana bayou. But despite his ignorance and inexperience, he tracked her down the moment he found out she was still alive, and nothing was going to deter him. Not the creepy farm, not the random crow in the microwave, not the dead body in the flooded basement, and especially not when his wife called another man daddy.
Did anyone see you? Did he see you?
Hey, who else is here? What the hell's going on?
Daddy's coming. We need to go.
Daddy?
A lot of us would have probably gave up at that last part, because there's no coming back from that. But with all that being said, what I find most interesting about this setup is how quickly Ethan adapts to the sudden situation, often finding a way to combat the endless terrors that plagued him around every corner. Whether it's the mold creatures, the Baker family, or Evelyn, the very cause of all this, Ethan adapted and acted accordingly to survive and eventually save his wife. Throughout the game, I couldn't think of a single moment where Ethan felt in true despair. Sure, he was scared shitless, but he was never paralyzed with fear. And I want to focus on that for a moment to really put things in perspective. In the beginning of the game, he finds his wife, whom he thought was dead for the last 3 years, only to find her possessed and hostile, and through their scuffle, it leads to her supposed death. And right there, right at that moment, would have been the breaking point for anyone. Not only witnessing her death, but by your own hands on top of that, will make any person end it all right then and there. But no. Ethan pushes forward to at least try to escape, knowing full well his life can be snuffed out before he gets a chance to scream. So when he finds out for the second time that his wife is still alive and can be cured of her hostile condition, he abandons his original plan of escape and does everything he can to save her. Not bad for someone who's only worked in an office building, and by those standards, you could argue that Ethan is just as dangerous as Leon, if not more so. But then again, he has a clear advantage over Leon. But we'll go into that later on in the video, as we talk about the next game, Resident Evil Village. Now, as much as I enjoy Resident Evil 8, part of me wished that Ethan's story ended in the previous game, because he's already been through enough, and after a couple hours of therapy and a good night's sleep, he could have left all of that behind. But sadly, that isn't the case. It goes to show you that whether you flee or fight your demons, they always find a way to haunt you in the end. So 3 years after the Baker incident, we find Ethan living in the European mountains with his wife Mia, and the man couldn't be happier as he transitions into fatherhood with his little baby Rose. Someone was getting busy during the time gap. I guess life and death situations will put anyone in the mood. But nothing's meant to last, and like Dragon Ball, there's always a new villain of the week ready to sow chaos and confusion because they just felt like it. And what better way to get things going than to break in this man's house, shoot his wife in cold blood, and kidnap his baby, destroying 3 years worth of peace in a matter of seconds. But the worst part is that Chris was behind this attack. And I know what you're thinking, how is that worse? You just said he lost his wife and kid. But hear me out. Would you rather lose a loved one to a complete stranger or to your best friend? Comment down below. I'm not saying Chris and Ethan were best buddies, but they were allies. And if push came to shove, he would probably ask Chris to be Rose's godfather. Maybe. And I say this because not only did he rescue Ethan and Mia from the Baker residence, he also provided them protection and military training to give them some sort of a normal life and some way to protect themselves. So Ethan would have some sense of trust for the veteran soldier. But irony tends to force its way into our lives when we least expect it. Thinking his wife is dead for the 3rd time, I'm seeing a pattern here. He has no time to mourn her passing if he wants to save his daughter, and so he marches into the icy horrors of the unknown. When you think of well-known dads in video games, you might think of Joel Miller and Geralt of Rivia, or for the more niche down, Ethan Mars from Heavy Rain, or Sebastian Castellanos from The Evil Within. And Ethan Winters takes center stage as a man among men who will stop at nothing to watch the world burn if it meant saving their children. But what sets him apart from these other great men is his will to fight. He's not the strongest from this list, far from it, but he's the most relentless, coming back from the brink no matter how many times you put him down. Unlike the others, his determination alone is what makes him dangerous. Now, before you say something in the comment section, let me explain. Earlier on, I mentioned that Ethan has a clear advantage over Leon, and that's his regeneration abilities due to his mold infection. Meaning that no matter how much you damage him, no matter how much you beat his ass, he recovers and keeps fighting. Fatal attacks that will put Leon in the hospital for weeks, Ethan bounces back within minutes. I'm not saying he's unkillable, but you have a better chance of breaking down a stone wall with a plastic spoon. But that power does come at a great cost. Though we didn't know it at the time, Ethan was infected with the mold by Evelyn at the start of RE7. And if you remember what happened to the Bakers, well, you know that once she gets a hold of you, she claws her way into your mind and forces you out of your own body as you sit there powerless to do anything about it. And that's why I say Ethan's determination is what makes him a threat. His stubbornness alone was able to shield himself from her mind control and still somehow reap the benefits. This was a powerful bioweapon who took control over everyone she came across. You can't explain that through science. That's just human nature when pushed to the brink. In the Resident Evil series, it's not often when a main character is killed off, reinforcing the raw, gritty nature of RE7 and 8, reminding you that everyone doesn't get a happy ending, both in fiction and real life. And no matter how much we deny it, we gotta face the fact that not all of us are gonna make it to the finish line. So when I saw Ethan's heart get ripped out like it's Mortal Kombat, I prayed to baby Jesus that he makes it out alive. But some prayers go unanswered. By the end of the game, I was really hoping that he would fade away in silent obscurity like previous protagonists before him. But it wasn't meant to be. All the struggles, the sacrifices, and sanity spent all led up to this very moment where his story ends off with a bang. As sad as it sounds, he did what he set out to do, and that was to save his daughter, even at the cost of his own life. In the end, Ethan Winters fell victim to the horrors of bioweapons, just like the thousands of nameless people before him. And though his time in the series was brief, he left a large impact on the Resident Evil community, leaving behind a tale of tragedy and triumph. And that's why Ethan Winters is the most relatable character in the series, a self-reflection of what we will become to protect those precious to us. If you made it this far, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. I really like diving deep and discussing video games beyond just simply playing them. And if you enjoy the breakdown of them as well, then feel free to like and subscribe for more content. During these tough times, video games have kind of been one of the few things that give me a peace of mind. And if you need a break from reality, feel free to join the discussion. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.